Hi and welcome to the Comfy Red Couch. My name is Tracy and I'm your host, and I am coming to you from a lovely sunny day in Toronto where it is above 0 degrees Celsius. There is no crazy wind chill that makes it feel like you're needing to bundle up like there's no tomorrow. It almost looks like spring might be here. I do see a couple of little snow piles across the street on the neighbors' lawns, but for the most part, the snow is gone. There is a robin in the front of my yard in the oak tree. Yesterday, I saw little tiny buds of magnolia blossoms ready to go. I am happy and I am confident that we might actually be ready for spring. Well, not that we're going to be ready for spring. I think we've been ready for spring for a long time. I think maybe spring is ready for us. So hopefully, crossing fingers. Anyway, as I said, this is the Comfy Red Couch. I am your host, Tracy. You can find me as Tracy RR on Ravelry, and I am Comfy Red Couch on Instagram. If you are a new viewer to the podcast, this is a podcast about knitting primarily, although I do other crafts as well. Today I'm going to talk about some sewing. I share lovely things that come into my house, and I often share a little bit of tea. Usually I share a little bit of tea, and we'll get to that in a moment. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. You know I always love having you on the Comfy Red Couch with me. And I know you know the drill. I know you've got your requisite cup of whatever it is you are enjoying. You've got your project of choice. You've already jumped up on the Comfy Red Couch. Perhaps you're giving Tasha a pet. Scout is just standing in front of me, and I think she's about to join us too. Scout has decided to join us on the Comfy Red Couch, and she has taken her prime position behind me, ready to edge me off the couch as the podcast continues. So I think we're ready to begin. We've got a beautiful cat up on the red blanket that I remembered to put on this week. I have a puppy behind me. You are all here as well. I have my requisite cup of tea. I've got my projects and all the lovely things I've been up to at the side of me. And I think we're ready to talk about tea time. So let's chatter about some tea before we move on to all the lovely crafty things. And today I am drinking out of my fun little rabbit mug, the little hare. I thought it was a perfect spring mug to use today. And this is a Rendale Designs mug, and it's Royal Worcester is the manufacturer. And inside, I have a fun bag of Tea Forte that the lovely Lindsay sent me in a swap. And Tea Forte is kind of fun because it's a triangular tea bag. And I'm just going to put this down. It's got a little leaf at the top that is the tea bag string. I will put that down there for a second as I show you what the container looked like. So the tea bag comes in here, the leaf sticks out, and they often, when they put the boxes together, this one came in a lovely little heart-shaped box, they put them in a nice little design, putting all the triangles together. So today I am drinking Tangerine Rosemary. It is a white tea, and I'm going to now pop the tea bag out of my tea because I don't really want to have it plop in my face. And it is a lovely red tea. It smells nice too, and I am ready to enjoy some tea, which is amazing today because I didn't think we were going to have tea time today. Last night I was knitting away and I popped the kettle on, but the light didn't come on, and I thought, uh-oh, what's wrong? So I unplugged it, put it in another plug, put it on again, didn't come on. There was water in it, should have worked. And I thought, oh no, kettle's broken, I'm going to need to get a new one. But I picked it up, took it over to the island, plugged it in, and sort of did a bit of an adjustment, turned on, made myself a cup of tea, but there was kind of a bit of a weird smell after the water had boiled, and I thought, okay, I think it's better that I get a new tea kettle, because those stovetop ones, I have a bad history with those, and it's a hereditary thing. When I was young, my mom always had stovetop kettles, and we always had to make sure we got the whistle kind, because what would inevitably happen is my mother would put the kettle on, and it's those coils, the old stoves, put it on top, walk away, and then, you know, half an hour later, oh, I forgot I put the kettle on. The kettle, of course, had boiled dry by that point if it didn't have a whistle on it, and if it had like an enamel type of paint to the kettle, it was stuck to the rings of the range. I would probably do that too. So it's just best to have an electric kettle all the time in my house as far as I'm concerned, because there's oftentimes I'll put it on, I'll walk away, and then an hour later, oh yeah, I put the kettle on to make tea. So I think to have a stovetop might be a little bit of a danger in my house because I don't want to set my house on fire. Anyway, so, and of course, because my mother used to do this all the time, oh, you should have seen, like, trying to pull it off. And we've got a glass range, so I just can't imagine if that paint stuck on the glass from the heat. I don't think we'd ever get it off, and we'd break the glass. And then I'd need to get a new stove, and it would just be a very expensive. It is much better to buy a new electric kettle. However, today when I came downstairs, flicked it on, it worked. Still think I'm going to get a new kettle, though. And we have tea time. So that, long story short, we have tea time today. And to that, let's say cheers. Cheers. It smells so good. Tastes so good too. Yum. Amazingly, we have a Material Girl segment. And it is not because I am finished my green polka dot dress, which I'm really that far away from being done. I still have to put the panels on the front, the buttons, and hem it. I am hoping to wear it for an event in early May, so a breakfast event. I've got to get it done in the next little bit. Maybe tomorrow on my day off I will, but I did something completely different for Material Girl. And on Thursday night, I got an email from Uknit, which is a local yarn shop, and they sell gorgeous, gorgeous material, including Liberty. It's a very, very dangerous place to go, but a very beautiful store that, oh, I love going to, but dangerous. So I noticed that they had a workshop happening yesterday, which was the English paper piecing workshop. And I thought, oh, that sounds like an interesting thing to do. And all the materials were included. So when I got the email, there were 4 spaces left. And when I was about to go to bed, I said to Greg, I'd really like to take a workshop this weekend. Can you look after Nathaniel so that I can go and do this workshop? Because you can't leave a 9-year-old at home, at least by himself. And Isaac is still doing full day rehearsals at school. So Saturday rehearsals are happening. So I needed to make sure that Nathaniel was taken care of, and yes, he was. So I got to do an English paper piecing workshop yesterday. And I will show you some of the things that I also picked up while I was at Uknit. And I'll do that beforehand before I show you what I got up to, because even though this probably should go in the brown paper packages segment, it's sewing related. They sell Merchant and Mills things at Uknit. It's a very lovely, lovely store, as I said. So I bought myself a needle threader because my eyes are not as good as they used to be. And I also got some self-threading needles because, again, as I was sitting at the workshop I had to wear my glasses, trying to thread the needles, it was a bit of a struggle. So I decided I needed some needles that maybe won't be as much of a struggle. Along those lines of not being able to see well when you drop those pins, you need a magnet. So I picked up a lovely magnet as well. And in order to pick things up from the magnet, I got myself some glass-headed beads. And I just love glass-headed beads. I don't know why, and I just wanted to get these ones. The ones I have are really, really thin. I think they're quilting ones, and they fall out easily. So they're just too thin. They've got a yellow glass head. They were really nice, really expensive, but I decided that I wanted the Merchant and Mills ones as well, so I got those. And then I got these because we got a couple in our kit, and they were just so cute. They're like little paper clips. And I have a little fascination with fold back clips, and these are close enough, and they're bright and they're colorful, and they might be helpful. So I bought them because they were cute, they're bright. Anyway, hopefully I use them. So I'll talk a little bit about the workshop. And then I will show you, because I did get a couple other things from Unit. But when we got there, we got to choose 7 fat quarters, and there was a bundle that was filled with colors like these, and I was really drawn to that bundle, but I didn't want to do my workshop all in one color. So the bundle had 6, and then because we were allowed to choose 7, I could have got the green bundle and then picked another green, because I to do something like add a purple would have been a little bit too much. But what ended up happening was I saw this one, and I thought, okay, what I really want to do is to mix 2 colors. So I chose out the fabrics that I liked the most. So I liked this green floral, and I think for the most part these are cotton and steel. And I liked this green floral, and I liked this gingham check. And then, as I said, I found this beautiful floral with orangish coral and the same green. So I thought, let's see if I can find some other materials that go nicely. So I found this larger check, which is kind of nice because I do have the small gingham check. And then I found this large floral, which was kind of fun because it wasn't quite the same, but similar stylings. And then I found this floral, which was a perfect match for this floral. Just a different color, and they all went so nicely. So what I did was I married my 2 colors, this one in the middle, and I had some lovely soft pastel-y, springy colors to do my English paper piecing. So these were the 7 fat quarters that I chose. And in the workshop, we were given 20 of these plastic hexies, and they're a flexible plastic, and you fold and sew around each of these, and then once my design is done, I'll then pop these out so they are reusable. And so we got 20 of these. 7 of them are in my project right now, and in this lovely Unit bag there was a little piece of felt, and it came with some pins for pinning the plastic piece in the material. There were a couple of sewing needles, and then there were these cute little clips to help with the English paper piecing pieces. So I thought they were so cute, and that's why I had to get the other bright, colorful ones that were similar, because one can never have enough clips, I think. At least I know that at work, I'm always using clips. Always, always. But just the presentation of the package that we got for the workshop was just so lovely. We went down to the basement of the old store, and it's a little bit of crinkling there. And we had just a lovely table. We were surrounded by lots of yarn, and there were weaving machines behind us, and just apparently that's the workshop that sells out the fastest is the weaving workshop. But it was just a lovely morning. It started at 10, ended at 1. Claudia said, just take as long as you need. Like if you need a little bit more time, don't worry. So it was just a nice, non-stressful event. And what I ended up doing was learning how to do these pieces. And this is actually my first one. And so you sew the backs, and then eventually I will pop out this piece once I've sewn it all. So I have my pieces that I still have to sew on, and I'll put those 4 away. And then I have started to put them together. So I've used this one as my centerpiece, and then I'm going to slowly go around. So I didn't sew as tightly as I needed to here, so I'm actually going to just touch it up. But that was my workshop, and I'm not as confident with my hand sewing as I am with machine sewing, because which is strange because I do love to do cross stitch and I can sew that really neatly, but when I'm doing just little stitches, I just don't feel like I do it neatly or properly. So this was a really good opportunity to do some of that hand stitching and just work on little techniques. So a super, super fun, easy, and rewarding morning as I worked in the workshop. And Claudia is always, always lovely. And just the materials that were included really made the workshop a lot of fun, because it wasn't just, you know, a bunch of pieces of material and you just grab little bits. It was the fact that we could choose our own fat quarters, and now I can do more of these, or I can use them for other little bits. It's just a really nice sort of value for that workshop, I think. The workshop was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun having Claudia teach us. She's just such a lovely person. It's always great to spend time with her. And I have to tell you, I think the value for this workshop was fantastic, because I got my lovely 7 fat quarters. I got this lovely little notions kit. I had 3 hours to work away on these. I got the plastic pieces that went along with it, and I sort of feel like I was able to get enough knowledge that I can move on and do this on my own. And then once the workshop was done, I went upstairs, which is where the main part of the shop is. I showed you some of the things that I already bought, because they've got a lovely Merchant & Mills selection. I really, really wanted to buy the Merchant & Mills scissors, those nice heavy metal scissors. They remind me of going to school in the 70s and 80s, because all the teachers had those heavy-duty silver scissors with the metal black handles, the kind that you do not run down the hallways with. Not that you should run down the hallway with any scissors, but definitely not those heavy-duty metal ones. I love those scissors. They don't have those in schools anymore, but I want a pair, and they do have the Merchant & Mills ones in stock at Unit, but they are pricey. So maybe for Mother's Day or for my birthday, I will drop some hints, and maybe my family can buy me some expensive scissors. But yeah, don't run down the hallways with them. Not a good idea. But I went upstairs. I did buy all those little notions. I did not buy any yarn, and I bought no more material. However, I did buy more hexies. So we were given 20 of this size, and this is, I think, the 1 1/4 inch, maybe 1 1/2 inch. And I bought the 1 inch hexie. You can sort of see it right there against the glare. In addition to the 1 inch, I also bought the 3/4 inch hexies, and I'm hopeful that I will be making more of these. But I walked out of Unit with no yarn, and the material that I walked out with was part of my workshop, so not too bad. But now it is time to move on to some knitting, and I've got some exciting things to share with you in my favorite things. This week on My Favorite Things, I have 2 things to share with you, and they are both finished objects. All of my other work in progresses, there's no point even showing them to you because nothing has been done on them all week. So let's just get to the good stuff. Last week, I shared with you that I was working on something super special, super secret, super starry in this bag. And that was with my gorgeous little tailoress yarn, and it is sparkly. I don't know whether the sparkle will catch it all today. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And this is by Little Tailoress, and this was a special skein that Amy dyed up for me called Fluffy Flakes and Fairy Lights, and it is just gorgeous, amazing. And when I was showing it off on brown paper packages, I guess a month and a half ago or a little while back, I said I knew exactly what I wanted to use it for. And that's what I did. So let's share with you what it was that I knit up. And I knit up this glorious pair of socks, and these socks are the Forever and Always pattern by Danielle George of Little Bobbins. They are on one side stockingette, and then there is a beautiful cabled pattern that goes down the leg. Now, they actually have two different cabled patterns. If you look carefully, and of course I'll try and hold this as best as I can, the rib on this side is really interesting. It is a garter main, and on this side it is a stocking stitch main cable, and they mirror each other, and they are just such a clever design. And it's funny, when I knew that I wanted to use this yarn for the third pattern for the Little Bobbins Vintage Love Story collection, I had no idea what the pattern was going to look like. I just knew I wanted to use that yarn for the third pattern. And you know what? It is perfect. And I just love. And this collection from Danny was absolutely amazing to knit. I really enjoyed all three of the designs. We had the Cyril socks, which as soon as I got that pattern on Valentine's Day, I had to cast them on and I could not put them down. The Rita socks, I was so lucky to be able to test knit those. And again, I could not put them down. And then now we've got the Forever and Always socks, which are gorgeous. And the right one I just picked up and knit away, couldn't put it down. The left one took me a little bit longer because I had some other things that were going on, but where I had been in a knitting slump a couple of weeks ago, this pair of socks really helped to get me out of it. But look at that gorgeous pattern. Just such a simple concept, but amazing. I love, as I said, I love how we've got the cable with the stocking stitch and the garter. It's just so clever. And this yarn, I don't know if you can catch the sparkle in it, but beautiful yarn from Amy. And Amy and Danny needed to be together on this project for sure. This is one of the projects that has kept me very busy for the past couple of weeks, and this yarn was just so amazing to work with. I used about 69 grams of yarn to make the socks. I now have 31 grams left to play around with, maybe some more heels and toes. I just loved the shots of orange and pink. There's even a couple little bits of purple in here. Just every time I'd get to one of the little orange spots with a bit of stellina in it, it was golden and just such a joy to knit with. So this is one thing that has kept me very busy. The next thing I'm going to share with you on my favorite things was living in this I solemnly swear I am up to no good bag by Southern Sparrow. But if you cheated and looked at the spoilers, you might think, you know what, Tracy, you actually were up to good. I think I was up to good. And it's no mystery what was in this bag, although technically it is a mystery. All that's in here now is the leftover yarn, so I'm going to share that. These are all gorgeous yarns that were dyed for me by the lovely Tracy of Nora George Yarns on her merino silk base. And this is Thistle, and I used about 62 grams of the Thistle, and this was my color A. My color B was this gorgeous tonal purple, and I used 85 grams of this yarn. And this is a lovely tonal green that she dyed up for me as well. And I used about, I think I used 76 or 74 grams total for the shawl. So if you were worried about whether you would have enough yarn if you used about 400 meters per skein for the 3, you should be good if you're thinking that you might want to do the mystery knit along now that it's not fully a mystery. Still in mystery status, but and that's why we're going to go into the spoiler alert, but I had a good amount of yarn left. I wasn't playing yarn chicken, so that's always a good thing. So let us now go into full-on spoiler alert, because I'm now going to show you the shawl. So if you do not want to see the Impressionist Mystery Knit Along shawl, cover your eyes, cover your ears, run screaming out of the room, do whatever you have to do, because you don't want to have to gouge your eyes out later because you saw it and you didn't want to. So go now or forever hold your peace. And let us now share with you the yarn version rather than just photographs, because as this mystery knit along has been going along, I've just been popping up photographs for you to see the progress. And now I can actually share the fully blocked shawl in its complete glory. And it really is glorious and huge. So starting at this end, I have lots and lots of shawl to share with you, because as I said, it is a big, big shawl. And I started off using the thistle, so my color A is at the top, and then I've got the purple tonal in there as well, and then we get the little bits of green, and then the green is at the end. So even though it felt like I was knitting with thistle the most, because it seems to be in many, many more of the rows, it was actually the least used yarn. Couple things about this shawl, because it will be a little bit different than yours if you were following the pattern. A couple of changes were made along the way, so that's why we test, is to see any differences. So in the clue 1, I have 3 sets of eyelets, and in the released clue there are actually only 2, so a design change was made, and I had an extra set of eyelets just above the purple block there, and then, as I said, so clue 1, that was taken out. And that's what happens in testing. Stuff changes. And I talked a little bit about this on last week's podcast. I made a bit of a design change because I have a thing for symmetry. And let's see if I can line this up properly. This little set of eyelets here, it wasn't lining up the way I was wanting them to line up for my own personal reasons, because I have, so I just moved it over one tiny little bit of knit there. Somebody's hammering outside my door. I wonder if they're taking the squirrel traps down. Anyway, I did a little bit of a change there. I am going to make a quick mention about the Picot bind off, and part of my issue could have been that I was using merino silk, and merino silk doesn't have as much give as a merino nylon would. I should have upsized my needle and bound off a little bit more loosely for my Picot bind off. I did find as I was blocking it, it was very challenging because I'd stretch it out and it would sort of flip over because it didn't have the same stretch or give that the merino nylon would have had. So the merino silk was lovely to work with, but I should have done this a little bit more loosely. So knitter error there. Funny thing about this shawl too was I got to the last row before the bind off and I realized I had made a mistake on the edging, and it wasn't an easy drop down and fix. I ended up having to spend a lot of time going back because I wanted it to be perfect. And so I spent a night tinking back. What happened was I spent the night knitting it to the final row, and then I realized I had a mistake. The next night I spent tinking back, and then the night after that I spent re-knitting to the row before I had been before. So silly mistakes. And probably if it wasn't a test, I probably would have just said, whatever. But I tend to get to be a little bit perfectionist sometimes, but my edging is perfect now. My row counts are perfect. And you know what? This shawl is pretty wonderful. I really think that this shawl screams water lilies. The colors were perfect. The yarn was amazing. And this design, just so fun to knit up. It is completely huge, and but just such a fun mystery knit along. So if you knit along while the mystery was happening, I hope that you really enjoyed doing the Impressionist mystery knit along. If you've waited to see what the pattern looks like, and now that it's released and you've decided, yes, I'm going to knit it, have fun choosing your yarn, and I really hope you enjoy knitting along. Do that bind off loosely. But I did put notes in my Ravelry page as to a couple of things that I did do. I don't have a note about that third eyelet row from Clue 1. I will put that in my Ravelry notes at some point, either today or tomorrow. And so if you do want a third row of eyelets, you can always do that. The nice thing about shawls, especially once they're out there, you can sort of see what other people have done. And Ravelry is so great for reading notes. There's always such great things to learn from other knitters, and it's just such a great place to be. So this is the Impressionists mystery knit along, and it is done. Yay. This week I did get some lovely things, and I had shared with you that some of these things were coming, so they're not going to be a surprise. They've just finally arrived. And the first set of items that I am going to share with you are all from Little Skein in the Big Wool. And these are my To Kill a Mockingbird project bags. I couldn't decide. There were 3 different bags. They all came in different different sizes and shapes and things like that, but there were 3 different fabric patterns, and I had a really hard time narrowing it down, so I got all 3. So this is my sock zip, and it's got on both sides the mockingbird, and then there is the little pocket watch and the Indian head pennies. There's a stick of gum, just lots of little bits of string, just fun little version of To Kill a Mockingbird in a project bag. And inside is this gorgeous fabric, and I'll share that a little bit more in a different bag because this is a bit small, and I'm going to show it in a few minutes. So that was my sock zip that I bought, and I bought the squishy one. And this one, this was the fabric I loved the most, but this fabric only came in a sock and book tote. I'm not much of a tote person, but this fabric just had me swooning, so I just loved it. Inside, some beautiful floral fabric as well from Miss Maudie's garden, of course, because Miss Maudie loves to garden. Hello, Scout. Scout has heard about To Kill a Mockingbird, I guess, and wants to turn around so she can see better. So this bag, I had to get this one, even though it's not normally a size I will carry as much as other ones, but it will be good just to flick on my wrists and knit away. That happens. Maybe I'll find I love it the most. But I loved the fabric. And I'll show you what else I got before I show you the final bag. I did get a little progress keeper of a mockingbird, and it's on a little lobster claw, and it's a lovely little cutout there. So that was one of the little extras I bought myself. And the final bag is this gorgeous shawl zip. And this artwork was designed specifically for Anne of Little Skein in the Big Wool. And you've got Jem and Scout looking over at the Radley place, peeking out from behind the tree, the old oak tree. And there's this lovely little yarn bomb on one of the branches of the oak tree. And that yarn bomb, I believe, is the Mustache colorway, or very similar, that was just released yesterday for pre-order. So it is a gorgeous skein of self-striping yarn, and I may have bought some yesterday on the pre-order. The bags are back on pre-order as well if you're interested in any of these bags. Inside this shawl zip is that gorgeous blue material with the birds on it as well. And I did buy handles for both of my bags because I do like a handle on a project bag. So nice padded squishy, hard to resist, especially when I absolutely love To Kill a Mockingbird. My favorite book. Makes me so happy. I could read it and read it and read it. Listen to it on audiobook. I have read it and read it and read it and listened to it on audiobook, but I didn't have the project bags, so I had to get those. I did order the Mustache Yarns Knot Hole Tree yarn yesterday in the pre-order. I ordered enough for socks, and I also ordered the big double cowl kit because I want to do the sock arms pattern, which you do your two arms in the sock stripe yarns, and then you have the body a different color. So I've had that in my plans to make for a while. I was just waiting for the yarn to be released. It was released yesterday, so that is something I will be getting and sharing on brown paper packages in June, it seems like. I think they're going to be hoping to get it out at the beginning of June. So I did get that self-striping yarn. I love the Mustache Yarns self-striping yarn, and when it's linked to Kill a Mockingbird, of course I am going to get that. So that was one of the things that arrived in the mail. The next thing I'm going to share with you comes from Hannah of the Corner of Craft, and I ordered some more progress keepers, and I got that cute little black kitty with green eyes. I really want an orange kitty. I love orange cats. And I also got a bronze dragon. As I was knitting the Impressionist Mystery Knit Along, I was putting my other dragons along to mark my progress. I ran out of dragons, and I really just, oh, these ones are so adorable. I want a rainbow one, I want a pink one, I want a blue one. I want all the dragons. But just too cute. And it was kind of funny because at work I have one of those chairs that you put the exercise ball on and the chair stabilizes it so you're not rolling all over the floor, except it's got wheels on the bottom, so I'm rolling all over the floor. And someone walked in and said, "It looks like you're sitting on a big blue egg." And I said, "I am. I'm sitting on a dragon's egg. I'm hatching a dragon." And they just looked at me strange. I said, "I did. I ordered a dragon on the weekend." And I ordered a dragon on the weekend. And guess what? It hatched, and I now have a dragon. So who says those exercise balls aren't magic? Not me. I have a dragon. I've got 3, in fact. So yes. And if anybody ever says, "I'm going to go change now," I always say, "What are you going to change into? A dragon?" I like dragons. This week, I received something so beautiful and generous in the mail. And it was from the lovely Jules of So Sweet Violet. And in a previous podcast during the Brown Paper Packages segment, I shared with you some of the lovely framed work that Jules had done. And I made a comment about, "I love these so much, and I almost ordered a yellow one." but it got sold, so I didn't order a yellow one. The lovely Jules made me a yellow one. And it's funny because if you've tuned into the podcast before, you know that yellow is not my favorite color, far from it. But I had the pink, I had the blue. I just felt like the yellow would be the perfect complement, and things are always better in threes when you're hanging things. It's just a design, you know, everybody knows that, right? So I was going to, next time I saw Jules put these in her shop, I was planning to order a yellow one, but Jules beat me to it, and she made me this beautiful, beautiful yellow English paper piecing flower. And I think it's got the perfect amount of yellow. It's not just, you know, in your face yellow. That one there is bright, but then there's all these other glorious oranges, and there's some pink to balance it off. So I think it is the most perfect bit of yellow to add to my collection. So a huge thank you to Jules. I love it. I treasure it. I have them hanging on my wall by the computer, so when I edit, the other two are there. This one is going to join it because, of course, in threes, everything looks absolutely amazing. It is so breakable, so I'm going to be very, very careful with this. And on the back, Jules does this so much neater than I can at this point, but it does say "So Sweet Violet," and I just love how she's shown how she's done the work because it's just so neatly done. So I'm going to carefully wrap this back up and put it away so it doesn't break, because breaking something so beautiful would be tragic. So I'm going to put this away, and then I'm going to come back and share a spoiler with you. So I will go put this away, but it's so lovely. Phew! Now that I know that's out of the way and not going to get broken, I can move on to a couple more things in brown paper packages. But I did want to share the fun little card that came with that lovely paper piecing, gorgeous piece of art that Jules sent my way. And this was the card she included, and it said, "You look really good today." And it was funny because the day that I got this in the mail, it was a horrible day at work. But I had worn my silk scarf, and I actually wore lipstick that day. And so I had a few people comment that I looked nice today. So I just thought it was really funny because I may have worn lipstick and I may have worn my silk scarf, but it was not a good day at work, and I was just not feeling it. So it was just nice to have that affirmation that I looked good today. I didn't feel good at the time, but I looked good. And when I did get home and I found I had this gorgeous little box waiting for me, and I was in such a foul mood when I walked in the door, and then of course go, oh, a package. My soul lifted for one, but I needed to actually sit down, have a little snack and some tea, and get myself in the frame of mind, because I knew anything from Jules is going to be gorgeous. I knew that I needed to be in a good frame of mind. So I looked good, I relaxed, got myself to feeling good, and then of course, as soon as you open that box, you just feel fantastic, because beauty sent by wonderful friends. How can you not? Okay. I am so lucky. I have one more thing to share with you, and it is a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. It is from Scrumptious Pearl, and it is part of the Disney Club. So if you do not want to have it spoiled, cover your eyes, cover your ears, run screaming out of the room. I'm going to share the third gobstopper from the Disney Princesses collection from Scrumptious Pearl. And it is based on Snow White. And it was funny when I peeked in, Isaac was home with me, I peeked in and I said, oh, this is Snow White, because it has the colors of Snow White. And this is Snow White Poison Apple. There's nothing poisonous about this, I don't think. But just those lovely Snow White colors and a perfect gobstopper. So now I've had three. I have the beautiful Cinderella, which is this gorgeous pink and blue. And then I have the Little Mermaid Under the Sea, oranges and greens, very mermaidy style. And then now, of course, you've got the Snow White colorway, which is obvious. My theory is that there are going to be 3 of the old style princesses. So before the Disney resurgence that happened in the late 80s, early 90s, I think we're going to have 3 princesses from before that time. And I think that's going to be Cinderella, which we've already got, Snow White, and I think it's probably going to be Sleeping Beauty. And this is just me guessing. And I think the 3 modern princesses, we've already had Ariel. I think we're going to have Belle from Beauty and the Beast. And I am guessing we're probably, maybe, I don't know, going to have Jasmine from Aladdin. So those are my guesses. They are completely uneducated. I have no idea, but that's sort of, Isaac and I were having this conversation the other day because I was talking about how we were talking about the princesses and we were looking at all of on the Disney map, all of the different characters, and those seem to be the ones that jumped out the most. I mean, there's always the possibility that we might have Frozen princesses in this collection. I don't know. It's all a mystery. It's exciting. That's why mystery yarn clubs are so fun. And that leads us to an empty bag. And I know I was going to do Tracy's Treasures, but today I had some lovely things to share. And really, is it ever enough? Ever? Probably, but it's so hard. Yarn diets, fiber diets, bag diets. So hard. So hard. It's now time for some bits and bobs, and this is my segment where I talk about anything and everything. Sometimes I bring a little bit of knitting into it, but most of the time I just talk about things that have been going on. I usually say how busy it was. This week, of course, not much different, but it was crazy at work this week. It was just like crazy, crazy week. I was glad to have it done, and I was happy on Thursday night to discover that that workshop was available, so I got signed up for that. And I also got a text on Thursday from our former neighbor, who is our plumber, that he was available to come and do our mini bathroom renovation. So that was Friday night. So what I was originally planning on doing was knitting on Friday night, but it turned into mini bathroom renovation night, so that's what happened. And when we first moved into this house, and we actually moved into this house 12 years ago today, and so anniversary to our house, which still needs a lot of work, I decided that I was going to start off the projects in that bathroom that we did our little mini reno. So like, happy birthday renovation. It's had more renovations than the rest of the house, I think. When we first moved in, there was a little tiny pedestal sink, and you'd put the soap on the side and it would fall into the sink. It was a useless sink. And there was celestial wallpaper. The wainscoting was sort of like a beigey brown, and the floor still is blue tile. And it was a dark bathroom. So when we first moved in, Victoria Day weekend, I thought, I'm going to take the wallpaper down. I'm going to put a new vanity cabinet in here, so we've got some drawers and a little bit more space. And I'm going to just give this bathroom a nice refresh. I started that on the May long weekend, May 24th. Yeah, I didn't finish till the end of August because I started pulling down the wallpaper, and then I discovered why wallpaper had been put up. Yes. So we did put a new cabinet in with the sink, and that lasted us until this past week. But I did tear down the celestial wallpaper. I ended up putting up the paintable wallpaper, and you'll never guess what color I painted it originally. Yellow. Yes, I painted a bathroom yellow. I did the bottom half in cloud white, so the wood trim looks really great, cloud white. And then the top half I did in sunlight yellow because I thought it would be nice and bright. And I guess because originally it had been sort of brown and blue, I wanted something brighter. 2 years after I painted it yellow, I painted it blue, and I'm so much happier now. So anyway, that's why I think I've got this deep-rooted yellow thing happening. Anyway, so what we decided to do was the cabinet was starting to look a little bit weathered. We've got a slight angle on the floor, so when water gets on the counter, it just, yeah. So we put in a pedestal sink again, but we put in a bigger pedestal sink, kind of like the one we have in our downstairs bathroom. We've had a few years with that one. We like it, and I was able to get it on sale. And when you put the soap on the side, it does not fall into the sink. So that was Friday night, was my little mini bathroom renovation. And then Saturday, as I said, I did take the English paper piecing workshop, and just sort of a nice way to get away from the week. Isaac had a full day rehearsal at school yesterday, so he came home tired, and we were joking around last night, and I said, "Boy, you've got a big ego," and he said, "I only bring it home with me," and he is in the musical theater program at his school, and he says every day they are told to check their egos at the door. And I said, the problem with you though, Isaac, is you may check your ego at the door at school, but the problem is you pick it up when you're leaving and you bring it home with you. So we had a good laugh about that last night, so because he was being a bit big-headed. And I did buy them the 90-day subscription for Just Dance, so they've been having fun with the Apple TV and dancing along. You might see a little bit of that in today's epilogue, but I've been having fun just watching them dance, and they're playing all the 80s tunes, so it's kind of fun. Greg has his Latin exam tomorrow, so he's all stressed out. Not so much fun to live with because of that. But I will be happy when his exam is done, because then maybe Happy Greg will be back. But he gets so stressed out about exams, but I guess we all do. Nathaniel, we've gone from the coroner to the whole courage speech. So we've moved into a different aspect of the Wizard of Oz. That show is this week. Isaac's show for hair is the following week. When I was in high school, there was a student who would do that courage speech ad nauseum. And so the past couple of weeks, while I've been hearing the coroner going over and over, I was thinking in the back of my head, thank God it's not the courage speech. This week, it's now the courage speech. So be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you don't wish for. Courage. Yes. Anyway, that show happens this week, so we will be seeing The Wizard of Oz at the end of this week, and then Isaac's show for hair happens the week after, so there will be lots of musical theater happening around here. Isaac was really happy to be able to have a ball hockey game on Thursday night. Of course, all of the ball hockey games were canceled last week because of the snow. I was surprised they actually had a game on Thursday, but they were able to clean the rink up, and he got to play. And there weren't enough players that showed up, so he kind of had a double win because he volunteered to play for the other team and scored 2 goals. And that team that he was playing with won. But because that team didn't have enough players, his actual team that he wasn't playing for and he scored the 2 goals against, they won for the statistics. So he had like a double win playing hockey. So he was very, very happy about that. And he's part of the Resistance, and I put a photograph of him on Instagram in his new ball hockey sweater. He stinks when he comes home, so it's one of those straight to the shower. But he loves playing ball hockey. Nathaniel, not so much, but it's always a lot of fun to go by the rink at this time of the year, and all the little ones, as I was on the subway yesterday, were in the rink learning to play ball hockey and running around in their big, huge jerseys. But Nathaniel, he doesn't like it so much. Anyway, I think that's all I've got to share on Bits and Bobs this week. It always comes back to me afterwards, but that's all I'm going to share for now. Thank you so much for joining me on the comfy red couch this week. I hope that you've had a chance to sit down, relax, refresh, work on that project of choice. I hope that you enjoyed being able to see the spoilers that I shared with you, unless of course you ran screaming out of the room, which, you know, some people, maybe they do that. I don't know. I like spoilers. Now that you have finished your cup of whatever it is you're drinking and you have had a good chance to work on whatever project you're working on, I wish you a wonderful week ahead. I wish you lots of glorious weather, and whether that is if you're in the northern hemisphere enjoying spring, or whether you are in the southern hemisphere enjoying some fall weather where you're able to start working on some of those winter woolies, I wish you a wonderful week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the Comfy Red Couch. Bye.
I'm all about that bass, about that bass. I'm all about that bass, about that bass, no trouble. I'm all about that bass, about that bass, no trouble. I'm all about that bass, about that bass. You know it's pretty clear, I ain't no size 2, but I can make it like I'm supposed to do. Because you know I'm all about that bass, about that bass. I'm all about that bass, about that bass. I'm all about that bass, about that bass. I'm all about that bass, about that bass, 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 bass.